Better Together podcast.
Welcome to the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay-Varnia Chamber of Commerce. We're recording today from the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescued Wood Rehab. The Better Together podcast highlights local businesses each week as the Fuquay-Varnia Chamber of Commerce continues to promote an amazing business community. I am Marty Woodward from Rescued Wood Rehab, and I am not joined by my co-host Brad Marshall from Greater Culture CrossFit, but we did bring his picture in just so that you could see that Brad has been working out and doing a great job. Brad is feeling under the weather, so we're gonna let him skip this one. But we are very happy to be joined by Dr. Thomas Knackstedt. Did I get that correct?
Excellent.
Knackstedt.
Perfect. Yes.
Affectionately known as Dr. K from Peak Skin Center here at Fuquay-Varnia. Thomas, how are you, sir?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. I appreciate it.
Tell us about Peak Skin Center.
Yeah, so Peak Skin Center is a dermatology practice here in Fuquay that I founded about 18 months ago with the goal of bringing the Fuquay community just access to general comprehensive dermatology care. For so long, residents would have to travel to Cary, Apex, etc. to get specialty care. And so I felt like it was a really nice matchup between myself and the community to offer the general dermatology, your acne visits, your psoriasis, your skin cancer treatments locally in Fuquay.
So we're an ever-growing community here in Fuquay-Varnia. And, was there a reason that you were attracted to bring your practice here to Fuquay-Varnia versus maybe going to any other town?
Yeah, certainly there's always the question of medical need and just looking at what the wait times are for patients. And one of the problems for dermatologists and their patients nationally is that you're looking at about an average 3 to 4 month wait time to get a new patient dermatology appointment. And while a lot of the things we see may not be life-threatening or serious, some things are, be it skin cancer, be it melanoma diagnoses, or just really uncomfortable rashes. And from the onset of sort of founding the practice, the goal has always been and will continue to be to really have same day and next day availability, because having a dermatology visit in 3 months just really doesn't help you all too much when you need to be seen.
Yeah, waiting for a physician of all different types has become a challenge these days. So, speaking of challenges, as you opened up Peak Skin Center, what challenges did you face?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that probably goes for most medical specialties is just getting the word out of your presence, right? Dermatology sees patients at some of their most vulnerable when you're doing full skin exams. And so it's really about establishing that trust relationship with patients. And that's where the initial sort of brave few patients who came to us first before we had, 500 five-star Google reviews and whatnot, who gave us that trust and confidence to see us, really made a difference and sort of helped us spread the word in the local community. So getting that trust relationship is really key to a successful medical practice.
That's fantastic. So are there some unique aspects of Peak Skin Center that might be different than what you've seen in other practices?
Yeah, I think the two things that we really wanted to be known for are, number one, the access, like I said. And, inherently any practice, the first day it opens, is going to have wide open accessibility. We've really made it the mission to make that part of our culture going forward, whether we have one provider, two providers, or more, and no matter how many patients we have, that we reserve some appointment slots for those urgent same day, next day visits, so that we don't have to tell patients, sorry, it's going to be until, we're recording in February, until May till we can see you.
Right.
And then the other thing is really thinking a lot about our core values. And I think the one that's probably unique among medical practices is just embracing the concept of hospitality as a core value. And so much of my reading and sort of creating this practice and its culture was founded and formed by what I read in the hotel industry, the restaurant industry, and how we can make visits that are unique for patients. And to this day, it irks me when I go to a provider, and the receptionist doesn't even look up when I walk into the office. And so those things end up being just as important to the overall patient care experience than whether I get the diagnosis wrong or not.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to look at that. Is the hospitality absolutely does matter. So kind of give us a rundown of the services that you provide at Peak Skin Center.
Yeah, so our goal is truly that we want patients to be able to stay in Fuquay. If you look at sort of what are the most common conditions that people seek dermatology care for, then a lot of it is sort of our equivalent of the annual well visit, which is those individuals at risk um, having skin cancer screening exams or just checkups of any atypical moles. Frequently fair-skinned individuals, those with a family history of skin cancer. A lot of Fuquay and surrounding community either works outside or likes to play outside. And in North Carolina, that does put you at an increased risk for skin cancer compared to some of the other states in the country. And so skin cancer screening exams, but then also true medical dermatology. That means you're a teenager with acne. That means you're adults with eczema, psoriasis, and then just following these patients through and being able to offer both the diagnosis and then the treatment. In the case of skin cancer, the appropriate surgical management if it's indicated. And then as sort of a third leg beyond medical and surgical care is the aesthetic dermatology services. That's something that's certainly growing. We're seeing that become more of something that residents of Fuquay are interested in. And that's a very broad topic. That's anything from something like a facial with an esthetician to having a cosmetic mole removed on the tip of your nose that you may not like the appearance of in every family photo. Wrinkle relaxers like Botox, laser resurfacing for skin tightening. And certainly, we very much made it our mission to provide primarily that medical focus for the local community. But we're also very happy to embrace the patients who are looking for maybe more of an aesthetic component to their visit as well.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you kind of mentioned how the hospitality is very important to you, and that certainly helps you stand out from uh, competitors. Although you probably collaborate with
Absolutely.
many other doctors for different things. Have, what would you say to folks who are, considering getting a checkup on their dermatologist related things? What would you say is the most important things people should be doing, and what are the big reasons to come see you?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about checkups, and certainly it's really helpful to think about your inherent individual risk. Like I already mentioned, most of us have grown up in this area, and so that's an inherent risk factor. A lot of sunlight hours, a lot of fair skin. All skin types can get skin cancer, but certainly the more fair one's skin, the less protective it is against skin cancer. Um, and then family history, right? Individuals who have the right genetic risk to making a skin cancer are going to be at an increased risk compared to those who aren't. The unfortunate reality is that once you've made a first skin cancer, you have almost a 50-50 chance of making a second skin cancer in the next 5 years. Um, Even in today's day and age, indoor tanning remains a really big risk factor. So anybody who's
Really?
going to the tanning salon, one time artificial indoor tanning increases melanoma risk by up to 79%. And so those are the sort of things where we're really not just trying to check your skin, but really embrace the teaching opportunity that we have when we meet with patients to sit down and have those conversations about what your risk looks like.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess, we're getting into the springtime when everybody's going to be outside. What are some preventative things that people can do to minimize risk to their skin?
Yeah, I think both from a sun aging as well as from a skin cancer protection standpoint, sunscreen is probably the single most powerful thing that you can do. Routinely in our practice, we're asked, what brand do you recommend? What strength should I use? And a litany of similar questions. And my general response is that SPF 30 to 50 is probably the best sunscreen. Anything less than 30 is inadequate protection. It's not a linear scale of protection, which means after SPF 50, your sunscreen's getting a lot thicker and pastier without that much more protection.
Gotcha.
One of the biggest challenges that we see is, especially in our golfers and gardeners, is they'll be really good about applying it 9 o'clock in the morning when they start their activity, but then they're sunburnt at 4 p.m. And so you really have to apply every 2.5 hours, more frequently if you're going to be in water sports, swimming, sweating, things of that nature.
So the pool and the beach, and you have to pay attention to.
Yeah. And that's where sun protective clothing really comes in. I've personally, for myself and my family, embraced that. I'm not the most committed sunscreen user,
Right.
but I'm 100% committed to long sleeves with a sort of built-in SPF protection factor.
Yeah, and the materials for that have gotten much better.
They're so lightweight at this point. And then, of course, a hat.
Sure.
That's really a no-brainer in the North Carolina summer.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So, you're running a business, right? Taking care of patients. What lessons have you learned as you've, kind of opened up Peak Skin Center?
Yeah. So I think from a true business standpoint, the biggest lesson I've learned is that you're unfortunately never done, right? You inherently will always have a to-do list. And as a business owner, you have to make peace with the fact that that to-do list is probably not going to get done. And for me, making peace with that has just done wonders for my family and just friends and relationships. I inherently think that as a business, you're always either growing or shrinking. There really is no steady state to a business. And so you have to be comfortable as a business owner with that uncertainty. And you have to be willing to enjoy that journey, because if you're just looking for some, aspirational end goal, maybe it's a successful practice, maybe it's a successful brand, what have you, all of a sudden you look back and you've spent a lot of time just, waiting for something better. So I've really tried to make it my mission to enjoy both the medical and the managerial side of medicine. I'd like to say every day, but probably most days.
Yeah. You're not going to enjoy it every day. There's going to be bad days, and that's part of.
It's not always a podcast day.
It's not always a podcast day. That's right. So if someone is considering opening up their own practice or opening up a business, what advice would you share with an entrepreneur who wants to get into business, in particular, maybe a medical practice?
Yeah. So, medical practices are unique in the sense that it's not a one-on-one relationship between a business and a client or patient. It's this triangle between a patient, a practice, and the insurance company. Mm-hmm. And so medical practices have become a challenging business to run, because more and more, one of those three corners of the triangle is really dictating the care that the other two can have in their relationship. And so that's why we see so many large private equity groups and hospital groups manage healthcare, because the administrative burden to successfully manage a practice is getting increasingly high, right? For every hour of patient care, I'm spending just as much time behind the scenes doing paperwork and whatnot. So for somebody starting a medical practice, I think that's definitely something you have to be aware of. To me, it has to go hand in hand with what I think everybody has to have in business, and that's just really strong core values, especially on those worst days of business, whatever they look like in a certain business. You have to know why you're doing this. And I think financial gain is rarely the right answer, and, frequently not the most predictable case. And so you really have to be doing it because you believe in creating a hospitality atmosphere in healthcare. You believe in giving the clinical excellence that you think other people can't match, and sort of restoring professionalism in healthcare. And so those are our core values. And I think that I agree with most business books that you sort of need to start with your why in terms of why you're launching a company.
Yeah, that's great. So As you continue to grow here at Fuquay-Varina, what are those future goals for you? Any thought on, hey, this is where I'd like to be in the next couple of years or 3 years? Any, expansion plans or anything like that you'd like to, share?
Yeah, so our goal is certainly to grow with the demands of Fuquay and maintain that access promise that we have. And so that means the more the word gets out, the more we have to ensure that we have providers who can give us that access. The other part is really looking at what the residents of Fuquay want. What is the demand for certain services? What should we be investing in? Be it light therapy for psoriasis treatment, be it the newest, latest, and greatest lasers, just to really tailor that to what the local um, community wants from us, and then just making sure we get the brand out, and if there's demand for that brand elsewhere, honoring that interest in the area.
Very, very good. So you're kind of out and about here around Fuquay-Varina. Do you have any favorite local spots that you like to frequent?
Yeah, so um, I think my favorite place to go, and for full disclosure, unfortunately, I do not have the privilege of living in Fuquay. So I do sort of come to Fuquay. I work here. I invest in Fuquay,
Sure, sure.
but then I have to go get my kids.
Yeah, I get it.
And so one of the frequent stops that we make before I leave is Flowers on Broad.
Huh?
I find that nothing cheers our waiting room and my household up like having fresh bouquets assembled by their florists. And so again, I have no relationship with them, but I love walking into their store and seeing the flowers and bringing some of that back to the office. And then as a car guy, I really like the fact that there's a growing cars and coffee scene in Fuquay.
Yes.
So that's been exciting, and I'll make that trip from my house back to Fuquay on the weekends.
That's great. That's great. Well, and just mentioning all those other local businesses and activities, it certainly makes a difference, and that's a big part of what the Chamber of Commerce does. Um, Kind of going back, is there a best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Um, I think it's that I really am an avid reader, and I feel like I've read every business book under the sun, or at least enough to see common themes. And um, I think it goes back to what I've already sort of hinted at. You have to have core values and a mission that you truly believe in, and especially in this day and age, not one that was generated by Chat GPT, because that's the only thing that will guide you long term as you decide who to hire, who to fire, where to grow, and what to offer to the community. And so I think that's really big. And then just embracing that your work will never be done. And those are the things that I've felt helped me the most. As it relates to the concept of hospitality, one of my favorite books is Unreasonable Hospitality, which is written by the owner and chef of a restaurant in New York City called 11 Madison Park.
Mhm.
And for the longest time, that was rated the number one restaurant in the world. And so he just talks about, you know, how you exceed people's expectations. And that's something that I've really tried to internalize for us as well.
Ah, that's great. Is there one surprising fact about Peak Skinner Peak Skin Center that you would share with us?
Surprising fact about Peak Skin Center that I share with you. Um, I think that, again, talking mostly from a business standpoint, and I don't know too much about how it is in other businesses, um, we rely tremendously on our patients' feedback.
Mhm.
And so, we could spend all the money in the world on paid advertisement. That single Google review or that single phone call letting us know how we did is tremendously important to us. And I completely recognize as a consumer and patient myself that we're inundated with these, Google review requests, and everybody wants to know how they're doing. But now I sort of get it. I get it from both sides. And so if you do come see us, don't be surprised if we ask you for a Google review, because it really is how we can grow and know that we're doing right by the local community.
And then it helps people find you
Absolutely.
when you rise
Absolutely.
to the top of the searches. Sure, absolutely. It's a huge impact to provide great feedback
Yep.
to every business.
Yeah.
So, Dr. K, where can listeners find Peak Skin Center? How do we find you out there on the interwebs?
So physically, you'll find us in Fuquay on Procure Street. Procure Street is that little street right behind the Wake Med Primary Care and Urgent Care off of Judd Parkway. We're easy to reach by phone, 919-762-6845. And scheduling by phone and by text message is possible. The easiest thing is probably through our website, peakskincenter.com. And you can schedule there. It shows all of our appointment availability. It shows all of the conditions that we treat. It gives a little introduction to myself and my colleagues. We have a lot of videos on our website, both about the practice and also about the common medical conditions that we see. So I think it's a really helpful resource.
Okay, that's great. What's the best part about being a member of the Fuquay-Varnia Chamber of Commerce?
It's got to be the podcast.
It's got to be the podcast. Even when Brad's not here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to it. I've never had the opportunity of recording one with Brad.
Well, and maybe next time we'll get you back on with Brad do an interview with you.
All joking aside, I think one of the most memorable day out of the last 18 months was probably when we had our Chamber of Commerce open house ribbon cutting ceremony. I've been in medicine for over 10 years, but I've only been a business owner for, 18 months now. And that was really a big moment to have members of the community, members of the chamber there, patients, my staff, and my family to sort of celebrate the opening of this business in Fuquay. And that was really a cool thing with the chamber.
It's so cool to have all the ribbon cuttings that we have every week. There's no ribbon.
And I wish I could attend more for others because it's like you really have to pay it forward.
Yeah, and it's great to go support all those different businesses around the community, and there's always a chance to be a part of some events here at the Chamber of Commerce. So, well, Dr. K, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the Better Together podcast, and look forward to seeing you down the road at future events.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, Marty.
And thank you to our listeners. Join us each week on the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay-Varnia Chamber of Commerce as we highlight great local businesses. From the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescued Wood Rehab, I am Marty. That guy over there is Brad, and we are Better Together.
We're better together. It's a weekly podcast. We're better together. You should know that there's more in the dash. We're better together. Fuquay-Varnia Chamber of Commerce. We're better together podcast.